Pete, the Knicks ain't done just yet.
Pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Wins the game at the buzzer!
What is going on, everybody? It is the Pete and Repeat podcast. The Knicks aren't done yet. That's crazy. I thought they were going to be going like how OKC finished off the Timberwolves. But apparently, Big Body Brunson and those Kobe Sixes had different plans, man.
Yeah, no doubt, right? Like it was I was not terribly surprised. This is a very physical, very tough-minded, strong-minded Knicks team. I was talking to some people about the game beforehand, and they were like, "What do you think tonight?" I said, "Dude, you're gonna know in the first quarter what you're gonna get." When we watched the game the night before with Oklahoma City and Minnesota, you knew right away that shit was over.
Yeah,
like that was done in the first quarter, very quickly, very early into the second quarter. I guess anybody can come back, but we kind of knew. You knew what you were watching, right? Oklahoma City was ready to dominate, and Minnesota was on their heels the whole time. That's not what we saw with the Knicks. I didn't think we would. I thought we would come out and see them be tough, get after it, not going to die. They've always had that kind of never die attitude, and that's what they showed. So, I don't know if that's going to continue, and I may have a couple best bets for some of our listeners later on as we get through this, but I was impressed. I like what I saw. The Knicks are really close. There's some tweaking that needs to be done in the offseason. I don't think it's as much as some people think. Brunson went nuts. The guys that you want to contribute contributed, and it didn't surprise me.
Right. I think excuse me. A lot of the games that we've seen, and I was talking about this the other day to a friend of mine. Brunson he's offensively ready, he's leading, but defensively he's a liability.
It's totally a liability,
and they've been masking it, but
the problem is Karl Anthony Towns. Like, he's not a particularly good defensive player. The rest of those guys are good defensive players, and so you can normally mask Brunson's defensive, inefficiencies. The problem is when they're both on the court at the same time, they tend to have a negative point differential, which is fascinating because they're the two best players on the team.
Right.
But it's because they're probably two of the worst defensive players on a team. So when they're on the court at the same time, it's not great.
Right. And if you're going to have two players like that on your team, the best coach to have is, what's his name? D'Antoni?
You're right. Sure, that's a good idea.
Just run it on up, man. We can't beat them on defense. Just run it up. We're going to draw up all kinds of plays. Everybody just score at will. But I like what they did. And one of the things that stood out to me is they had 6 players in double digits, where Indiana only had 3 players in double digits.
And none of them were starters.
None of them were starters.
Maybe one of them, one or
Siakam.
None of them.
Yeah, Siakam was.
And what did he have?
He had 15. He
15.
went 5 for 13.
It's crazy to think and he's an interesting case, and I don't mean to break your point here.
Oh, you good?
But he's an interesting case now because I just have I kind of have gambling on my mind with this game in particular in the next game, I should say, because he's an exact example of zigzag theory. So if you look through how this series has gone, he's gone 15, 39, 17, then 30. And now here's 15. You might expect an offensive explosion, especially at home in the next game. So, but that's the difference, right? Like when, Halliburton didn't have a good game. Siakam didn't have a good game. All their starters, they were just off, and they just didn't have it. I don't know. I don't want to go as far as saying they mailed it in, because that would actually be disrespectful to the Knicks' effort. And I thought their effort was elite. So I don't want to go quite that far, but can you expect that in a game 6 in Indiana? That'd be a shock to me.
It'd be hard to see them perform like how they performed in New York.
Right.
And I believe My whole thing is this: if they can't win the next game, they're going to lose. They're not going to go to New York and beat them.
I think that
It
would
might
be a really
fans
tough.
running on the floor and everything to stop
Right.
that. But with them doing what they did, that game, I guess it was probably to stretch it so we can have some more basketball until next week.
Right.
NBA's got to get some money back, but
All I'll say about that is you just never know. I mean, you go out there and you play and you win your game at home and you force a game 6 because who the hell knows, man? Like, when we go back to that Boston series, none of us thought that Boston would. It's one thing to lose game 1. You shoot like shit and you look terrible and you're not playing good defense. Nobody. I can't even imagine like DraftKings or FanDuel or MGM or any of these guys, what kind of action they had on the Knicks in game 2. But then they go and they pull it off again, right? So, I mean, as a team, as players, you're a baller. You know how to you're a competitor. You just say, hey, let's fucking go out there, give it our all, win this game, and who the hell knows what happens in the next game. We'll take our chances in Indiana. And you know what's so great about what the Knicks did is that Minnesota didn't do that. Minnesota didn't come out and say, hey, let's just lay it on the line. This is it. And then if you look at Anthony Edwards' post-game comments, he was like, I'm not disappointed. Like, we try. What? No, wrong. Don't.
Bro,
again,
I'm
and this is where I say,
hell.
don't tell me that he's the new face of the league, that he's the new MJ, he's the new Kobe. No, not with that attitude that it's okay. We tried. I did the best. No, you didn't. You played average. You didn't play elite. You didn't play MVP. You didn't play best player on your team kind of basketball. But we did see that from the Knicks, from a lot of guys. Right. From a lot of guys that came out and said, I'm going to give you my best tonight. And they did.
I'll say it like this with him. I agree with you fully. And the only thing that I have on pushback on that is before the games, it was like 90% they were double teaming him. They 100% double teamed him that whole game. So that made him, when you got the ball in your hands, I'm going to make you a playmaker instead of a scorer. Because his scoring and that momentum is contagious. Once he gets going, if he gets a dunk, it's going to change that momentum and the trajectory of the whole game. But when you're double teaming him and triple teaming him and stopping the ball because their help really isn't their help. I mean, Julius Randle, I'd love for him to be what Cat Williams is to Brunson, but he's more like, if you look at it, he's more like the third best scorer if you had somebody else there. And that's crazy because, come on, they're giving you every opportunity. You, like how we said, like how you said, you got 30, then you have 15. But he's not even doing 15 on some of those nights. He's doing single digits. And you can't do that being the number 2 option.
Right. No, I agree with that. The only thing I'll push back on your pushback here.
Let's go.
Did we ever say that about Michael Jordan? Did we ever say that about Kobe, about Larry Bird, about Magic Johnson, about LeBron? No, these guys got double teamed and triple teamed. What I'll say, I'll put him in the class of with LeBron and Magic and say, then go get 15 assists. Yep. Now, some of that depends on your guys shooting a little better than they did, so I'll give you that much. But I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that about a guy who we're all at least considering to be best player in the league, face of the league kind of guy. Right. That's all. Like look, Halliburton. Yeah, Halliburton had a shit game last night, but I don't think anybody looks at him as like an MVP candidate. In fact, we talked about this last time. He was voted most overrated. Yep. I don't agree with that, but that's not the point. Like, we don't expect him to come through no matter what when it comes to scoring. If we're going to talk about a guy as the face of the league, and again, I didn't put that on him. I think it's too early for that. But when we listen to shitheads on sports media, this is the kind of stuff that they say, right? They're just dying to crown somebody. And I understand it with him because he's fun and he plays with a smile and he plays hard and he talks trash and he's unbelievably athletic and you want him to be. But you can't force those kind of things. No, you can't force it. And he's just not there yet. Now he's like 24 years old, man. Right. So it's like seems unfair and there's plenty of room for growth. But you could I think what you can say is you can say you're disappointed in the results that he gave us in this last in a do or die game. That I think is fair to say.
It is, and I think with the name they gave him, Ant-Man, it fits him perfectly because the Ant-Man can grow to a giant
and shrink.
but he can also shrink, and I
Yep.
think he shrunk at the
Yes.
wrong time.
Yeah.
Like you said, with those double teams and everything, Jordan, Kobe, Bird, Magic, they're gonna force the issue. So it doesn't matter if you got two people guarding me, they're gonna have so much trouble guarding me on offense. They're not gonna be a contributing factor. They're gonna be nothing. So I'm not gonna worry about them because I'm gonna do everything I gotta do on offense. I'm gonna try it. I'm going to test them out there. I'm not going to just dribble a couple times and then pass it because I know they're doubling me. You still can beat that. You can out physical those guys as well.
Well, to your point, what those guys would do, Larry Bird and Magic especially, and LeBron was always good at this. MJ was more of a I'm gonna score. I don't give a shit if you go 5-on-1. But LeBron, Larry, and Magic were guys that would say, "Oh, you're gonna double team me? Come over here. Come over here." They're going to draw you where they want you to go, and then they're going to make a beautiful pass.
No look.
So, exactly. So, this is what I mean. Like, and those guys didn't care what the situation was.
Yep.
That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like, and again, I love watching Ant-Man play. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to grow into that type of role, potentially the face of the league. Mm-hmm. But we can sit here and say that was a disappointing performance.
Yeah,
and frankly, that's 2 years in a row. And this is where maybe, NBA enthusiasts, now I don't think the casual fan will look at it this way, but the NBA enthusiasts, you and I, guys who watch every day, guys who are watching regular season games, this is 2 years in a row. Now the positive is 2 years in a row, NBA Western Conference Finals, right? That's a positive, and Minnesota hasn't even had anything like that since KG.
That's right.
The part that might make some people a little bit nervous is that now this is 2 years in a row. Yes, Western Conference Finals, but 2 years in a row, you came up a little small. I don't just mean losing. I mean your play wasn't up to Luka last year. It wasn't up to Kyrie last year, and it wasn't up to Oklahoma City this year. That's the part that makes me a little nervous. Is it just you're up against a better team and and Minnesota's just not that good? It's possible. But I think the thing that would make fans worried is the moment too big? I'm not saying that's what it is because I'm not prepared to say that just yet. But it's something to think about. That's all. It's something to think about.
It really is because like what a lot of analysts talk about is he said he doesn't want to be the face of the league. And I think he doesn't want to be the face of the league because he doesn't want to stand up in those situations like that. He just wants to play basketball. But what we know from playing sports, it doesn't matter if you're the face of the league or not. You still have a name on the back of your jersey. Right. You're representing yourself. You got your own back, and your team's going to front you. Right. But if you're not man enough to step up in those situations, and I know people are going to get mad at me when I say you're not man enough, but we saw a man that was not man enough.
Correct.
That's what I saw in that game. I didn't see that he was scared. I didn't see that he couldn't do it. This is a team, the same team that you blew out by 40 points?
Right.
Then you go on a game is still an elimination game.
Yep.
And you barely show up because of the defense. I don't care about that. You got to make something happen.
Right. That's my point. Like, I don't care what the other team throws at you. When you're that guy, I don't mean Anthony Edwards. I mean when you're that guy, when you're one of the top, 3 to 5 players in the league, and I think he's at least that, right?
Yep.
I don't want to hear, oh, they double teamed me, oh, this or that. Those guys, when you're a top 5 player in the league, this is the same. Jason Tatum runs into the same problem sometimes, right? People view him as a top 5 player in the league. Just to make this not about Anthony Edwards only, it's more about who we think you are, who we're stating that you are. Jason Tatum, from time to time, does not look like a guy who just, takes the bull by the horns and is going to make things happen, whether you like it, they like it, or not. So when I think of even when we look at someone like a Jokic, right? Like that guy, he's going to make something. If you're not going to cooperate, if my teammates aren't shooting well, then fuck it. I'm going to take 50 shots. I'm scoring 45 today.
He
Like
plays
those types of guys make it happen regardless
Yes.
of the situation, regardless of what's happening around them, regardless of double teams, regardless, I'll think MJ, regardless if Steve Kerr is shooting well that night. I'm going to make it happen. There are hundreds of guys in this league. You're one of the 5 best. Make it happen. Period. I don't want to hear the rest.
Yeah, Joker doesn't play in the regular season as well as the playoffs and even the finals that he's been in. He comes to go to work, put his hard hat on,
Right.
get dirty. When the game's over with, everything's left out there on the court. That's
Right.
it. It's
And
nothing
it's not
left. You're not going to say they lost this game because Joker didn't give his best. You're never going to say that. Joker's
Right.
going to go out there and ball. I even looked at how he looks at players when he's out there. He looks at everybody in their eye.
Right.
Whether you're on his
very
team or
intense.
not. He
Yeah.
looks at you in your eye when I'm talking to my teammates or when I'm just looking at my opponent. He looks at you like, hey, I want to see what type of person you are when I
Right.
look at you. You can tell that when you looking at somebody and you giving them that stare down
Right.
and they look away, you know you got them.
Yep.
You know you got them.
Yeah. Now, he's not the sexiest. He's not the prettiest. You know, when he jumps, you can barely slide a dime under his foot. But it's not the point, right? Like, we've seen super athletic guys, and then we got guys like Luka and Larry Bird who are not as athletic. That's not what makes it. It's an attitude. With Jokic, it's an attitude. With Halliburton, usually it's an attitude. With Kobe, Michael, LeBron, it's an attitude. It's a mental attitude. It's a way of thinking of, this is what I'm going to impose this on you. You don't have to like it. I don't really give a shit if you like it. This is what's going to happen.
Yep.
You know, now it doesn't always happen. You know, Kobe lost, LeBron has lost, MJ very rarely lost, but he, you know, before he went for 6 in a row, you know, Magic and Larry, they lost. But that's not the point. You know, when I think of those guys, when I think of that guy, the top 5 player, what we think of is we assume it's gonna happen and we're surprised when it doesn't. Sometimes when we think of Jason Tatum and sometimes when we think of Anthony Edwards late in the playoffs, we're surprised when it does happen. That's right. The difference. And making that leap to a point of where we're surprised that it doesn't happen, maybe that takes a championship. Maybe that takes, you know, coming up with a big, you know, in a big way, in a big spot. I don't know. I don't think it's as easy as, hi, sweetie. I don't think it's as easy as like, this is what it's going to take. We know it when we see it, right? Like that moment happens and you're like, boom, that's it.
Yeah.
And that's what Anthony Edwards needs, I think. He needs that moment. Maybe it's a game-winning shot when you're down 1 or tied. I don't know. We'll know it when we see it, but we just haven't seen it yet. We've seen big games. We've seen high-scoring games. We've seen him take over games. But I don't know that we've had that moment, that Kobe moment, that MJ moment where we're like, oh, man, that guy, he's different.
Nope, that success is.
He just looks like a really good player now, like a great player.
Yep.
But when we're going to talk about that list of special players historically, that's different. You know, that's different.
Yeah, you even look at the Reggie Millers and stuff like that. He wasn't extremely athletic.
No. But you expected it to happen. Yes.
Killer instinct. That's one. And I said.
That's a very good example, actually.
I said, you got to give him 2 years. And the reason I said that is because he's going to have to lose. And with him losing, that's going to determine, do you want this?
Right.
Or do you just want to be a high-paid NBA player? Because I promise you one thing. If you put Ja Morant in that position where he was with that team, that man would have did everything that he could have. He would even put the guns away to try to make it happen. You know, he would put the guns away.
Just for a moment. Just for a moment.
I got to make this. My team needs me. I know what I want as an NBA player. I know what I want for my legacy and for when I'm gone, what's going to be attached to my name. This is what's going to come from me. And if I can't do that, they can't give me anything, and especially respect.
You're so right. You're so right. And you know what's funny? I want to bring something up here. This is what I mean about a state of mind. Do you remember back in the sort of first round Memphis plays Oklahoma City, and they're just getting, I mean, shit on. Like, Oklahoma City is trashing them, and they're down 3-0. And what does John Morant say? I think I got him figured out now. I wish we had more games. And you just said, like, delusional. He's a little delusional, but I want my guy like that to be a little delusional in the essence of thinking, you know what? I don't give a shit that you beat us by 50 and then you beat us by 25. I think I got it now. Like, that's a mentality that says I'm going to find a way. Not, you know, well, we tried.
Like
no,
said,
that's not good enough.
25, 50 to 25. He found something.
Right.
It just was we don't know what it was, but OKC was a better all-around team.
Oh my God. Yeah, by miles.
A better all-around team,
but he was thinking, I can make this happen. I want my megastar, my all-time star, to be a little delusional. I don't give a shit what the odds say. I don't give a shit who has a better roster. I think I can make this happen. And he couldn't, but I want him thinking that way. That's what I'm talking about. It's the mentality. And you bring up Reggie Miller. Nobody looks at Reggie Miller as an all-time great. But you ask the guys who played in that era, and they'll tell you he's a goddamn killer. Like, they feared him. Isn't that interesting? Right? He's not in the conversation with MJ and Larry and Magic of that era and Kobe. But you ask those guys, they feared him. Why? Because he was a goddamn assassin. He didn't care. He didn't have those feelings of fear. He just let it rip. Knicks know that very well.
He knew, hey, you guys, y'all might be good, but my sister could come in this game and play better than a lot of y'all, and I'm representing her. This is my bloodline out here, so I'm going to hear it from her. If
he used to say it all the time.
Do it. Yeah,
he used to say it all the time. The toughest competition I ever had was my sister. He used to say it all the time.
Yeah, I come home from scoring 40. I feel I did something. I see my sister look at my dad and nod. Yeah, I scored 100 plus tonight. Get out of here.
By the way, not to get too far off topic, but what would Cheryl Miller do in this WNBA now?
She'd be the Jordan. She'd be the Jordan.
Come on. I mean, dude, she was phenomenal. She was just out of her time. It's almost not fair.
Right.
But
remember, it was a time where they were thinking and talking about her going to the NBA.
I know.
That's ridiculous. There hasn't been another female basketball player that they ever put in that category or in that conversation.
And frankly, this is not, we don't need to go here, but when they even bring that stuff up, like Caitlin Clark, oh, she could play. No, she wouldn't even get a shot off. No. It's a conversation for another day if you want to. I'm happy to do it. We could be misogynistic all day long and talk about how men are. It's not going to happen. But anyway, she could have. She probably could have because she was a beast. But anyway, we can go back to the Knicks and Indiana. I just think Indiana saw this game's over and they bailed and they're like, but now here's the thing. I would almost call this desperation for Indiana going into the next game. Like you said, you can't lose this game and go back to the Garden. That can't happen. That can't happen.
Yeah.
Because then you really are talking about historically they come back from a 3-1 deficit and win that series. In fact, I think they'd probably be favored to win that game. I don't care. I know Indiana's like 8-3 on the road so far in the playoffs. I could care less. Game 7 is different than winning game 1 or 2 or whatever in a series. You're going to go game 7 in the Garden after you had a 3-1 lead. That means the Knicks have just won, 2 games in a row to tie that thing. No, you don't want that, dude. You don't want that.
And at the end of the game, Shaq, Ernie, Kenny, and Charles was talking to Cat, and they were telling him, well, Charles Barkley brought it up. He said, man, you got to stop with the stupid fouls. And these younger guys, you know how sometimes they'll have attitudes. What I like the most is Cat said, you're right. You're right.
There you go.
And he was like, well, you talking about this game or last? He said, either of the games.
Right.
You got to stop.
Anytime,
like, you're right.
Yeah.
He said, because I put my team in a bad place. This is what I see with Cat this whole series. He does what he wants to do. He's imposing his will. Miles Turner, no disrespect to him, great player offensively and defensively. But when Cat is tuned in on getting those points and doing it, there's no stopping him out there.
It's
almost like you get on my shoulder, another guy can get on my side. If I'm not trying to, sometimes he'll hook you. Sometimes he'll do extra. But when he's just out there ready to score and do his thing, because we know defensively he's not like that. He's a willing participant. But he's not like that. But offensively, when he starts rolling, how can you stop that?
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Was he a number 1 overall pick?
Um,
Was he first pick in the draft?
I have to
I
look
think
it
he
up.
was, and I'm going to say there was a reason for that, right?
Yes.
That not only the player that we saw him coming out of college, but also the potential that a lot of guys thought. Now, I'll give some of the scouts credit. They thought that he could be more of a shooter than he was. You know, he was just so goddamn big coming out of college. He could dominate like that. But you get to the league, they thought he could be that kind of shooter. And I was like, that's a hell of a thing to predict. But yeah, he's dominant offensively when he wants to be, when he imposes himself. So, and he did. And every time he does, every time he forces the issue, he makes things happen. That's what's fascinating about him. And I just wonder sometimes with some of these guys, if you start to feel like I'm being selfish, I'm trying to do too much, I'm forcing it. And I get that attitude. You know, we're raised from a very early age with team sports to be a team player.
Share.
You know, I need you as a star to elevate, but don't be so selfish that you're doing things and not helping your teammates out. And there is like a bit of a fine line, a balance between the two. But, man, you know, when it comes down to this time of year, we need our superstars to elevate and do things that other guys can't do. And there are most of the guys on this team that just can't do what Karl Anthony Towns can do. So go do it. We need you.
That's right. And,
you know,
and like with his fouls and with Brunson's fouls being so early in the game, he has to make those decisions that, I mean, you look at it when Brunson goes on the bench, their defense steps up, and Karl Anthony Towns takes over
Absolutely.
completely. It's
Absolutely.
like it's no second guessing.
Yeah.
I think they need to let Brunson do what he does, but run it through Cat, just like how they do with Joker and how they do it with Giannis.
Yeah.
I mean, his turnovers aren't up like that, and I don't know what happened with Indiana, but 20 turnovers. You're not going to win like that.
No. Yeah, no.
And that's a testament to the defense. That
Absolutely. That's why I said I don't want to totally give it into like Indiana bailed. I don't want to do that because I thought they were playing pretty hard early. They couldn't make shots drop, and I also saw the Knicks hustling their balls off on the defensive end of the court. One thing I suspect you might see more. Look, these coaches, they're not stupid. They get information. They know the numbers that we have, so they know that when Cat and Brunson are on the court at the same time, that the plus minus is actually in the negative. I would not be surprised. Now, I have no inside information here, but I just would not be surprised. Yes, they're both going to start. I'm not trying to say one's going to come off the bench. So they'll both start, but do not be surprised if as the rest of the game plays out, when one's on the court, the other is on the bench. There'll be overlap. They need to be on the court most of the time. But I'm just saying, don't be surprised if you see a little bit more of one or the other, not necessarily both. Because as crazy as it sounds, when you look at the height disparity, right? They're kind of similar players. They need the ball in their hand, and it works through them. So they don't always work necessarily great together. So it'll be interesting to see if the coaches make that adjustments. Because to be honest with you, that'd be a little ballsy to have one of them on the bench and one of them on the court, and then you're kind of going back. That'd be a little ballsy, right? Your two best players, you're not going to have them playing at the same time. I'm not saying that's going to happen all the time. That'd be ridiculous because their minutes would be so reduced. Right. But I think it could happen more. I think it could happen more.
I think it's like a rerun that we're watching right now, because that's why Karl Anthony Towns isn't in Minnesota right now.
Right.
And that's the same reason Brunson isn't in Dallas.
Yes, you're right.
They chose the other over them. But now what we're seeing is those guys can do it. I can't say it's coaching because Tibbs lives on defense. But these guys have no defense, but you're lucky enough to have Hart. You're lucky enough to have all of those other guys out there to fill in for you. But, I mean, come on, how much can you do like that? And that brings me to this question for you. On both sides, if it was one player that can determine the team, determine a victory on those guys, who would have to step up the most to make the biggest difference for
the
Indiana
Knicks?
and for both teams, for Indiana and for the Knicks?
Well, look, I think a guy who most people look at as kind of, no pun intended, the heart of the team, Josh Hart needs to have a big game on the road. Like, look, let's be real. Like, this is going to be super difficult. So you're going to have to get a special performance from someone other than, right?
Yep.
You have to get what you're going to get from Brunson. You have to get what you need to get from Cat. You need another guy, right? You need a third guy. And I think Hart can be that guy because he's so athletic. So you can get it on the defensive end with him, and maybe he gets out in transition or makes things happen. It's not a great shooter, but you're going to need that kind of game from somebody. For Indiana, to me, it's all about
Josh Hart reminds me of a young Trevor Ariza at the same time.
Oh, I can totally see that. Yeah. And if you remember, he was that kind of engine, right? When he would have good games, his teams would roll.
Definitely.
And when he would have bad games, they'd struggle.
That's how the Lakers lost that first year to the Celtics because he was hurt with a broke foot.
And he was inconsistent on the offensive end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Josh Hart's going to give it to you on the defensive end. He's going to give you a lot of rebounds and all that kind of stuff. But he's going to have to give them, I don't know, I'll say 15, 16 plus, right? You give me close to 20. If he can give him 20, this could be a very interesting game.
Give me 15, 5 and 5 from him.
What's that?
I said, give me 15, 5 and 5 from him.
Yeah, might take a few more points, but it's going to be at least that. Yeah, I would say at least that, right?
Right.
On the Indiana side of the ball, it's all about Halliburton because he's just that energizer bunny, right? He's just that guy. When his energy is up and he's scoring, God, there's just this vibe on that team that you're like, oh shit. It's like the boulder starts rolling down the hill, and it's not about stopping. It's about getting the fuck out of the way and hoping that it slows down at some point. Because I don't know, man. Maybe it's the happy warrior thing that he kind of looks like as he's playing. He's smiling the whole time. Like he's just enjoying himself too much. And if it's going good, dude, like that's just hard. And so then you're going to have to like go basket for basket with them. And I just don't know that the Knicks are built for that because that also means that Indiana's probably out in transition. And that's exactly how they want to play. That's definitely not what the Knicks want to do. So if Halliburton gets it going early and gets it going fast, that is really what I'm saying about the Knicks having to have that third guy, whether it's Josh Hart or, pick your guy. You're going to have to get your big games from their two main guys.
Yep.
But there's going to have to be that other guy that's surprised. You're like, oh shit, didn't see that coming. That's the only way it's going to happen. Right. But for Indiana, it's all about Halliburton. Halliburton has to get it rolling. Look, it could be 19 assists and 9 points, and that's fine too because that's crazy. But if he's got it going in one way or another where he's just dishing and finding people, or if he's hitting those crazy if he's doing his thing, it's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, you're 100% right when you said that once that ball starts rolling, I'll sum it up to say he is their momentum.
100%. 100%.
With that last game where he wasn't really doing anything, wasn't really active like that, that's what that team showed.
Yeah, and they had no juice.
They had
right.
None,
he had nothing, so then they had no juice.
When he goes out there, like what you said, when he's in that attack mentality and know it's going to be them or me, but it's not going to be me.
Yep.
That whole team feeds off of that. You need that from a player, especially from one that's got a ultimate chip on his shoulder. His peers voted for him as the most overrated. Come on, man. I'm gonna show you that I'm not. And I see 100%. I see him as like, if you look at it, OKC is the most complete team in the West. They're the most complete team in the East. I see him as a SGA.
Yeah.
SGA is in this.
He's not the scorer that SGA is, but he's that important. Yes. He's that important.
Yes.
Like he's the gear in the middle that if that's not working, the whole engine doesn't work.
That one cog. He's definitely needed, and he's needed to be in great spirits and high capacity. If he's not in that, they're going to lose. And the hardest thing that you're going to have to get me to believe is if they can steal that game in Indiana, that they come home to New York and lose.
Right.
So if
that can't happen because then there'd be 20,000 people storming the court. Right. Thibodeau would be buried 6 feet under somewhere. It would be over if they did win this game and lose Game 7. They would tear the whole Garden down.
I mean, it would be all the way over. So it's either going to be next game when Indiana wins, or it's going to be the Knicks going to come back and do what we hadn't seen be done in I don't know how long.
Yeah. All right, before we go, I got 3. I very rarely do this, but I have 3 really strong bets for this Indiana Knicks game coming up.
Give it to him, Pete.
So I do think this is Indiana's game to lose. And from what I saw, I think the line is somewhere around 3.5, 4. I love Indiana. And so my bet is not to take Indiana minus the 3.5 or 4. If you bet online with DraftKings or whatever you bet with, we don't have any affiliation with those. You can move the line. You can do an adjusted line. I would adjust the line up to 7 or 8 points because I think Indiana probably wins by double digits. So if you move the line to like 7 or 8, you might get like a plus 180, plus 190 and still get the cash, almost double your money instead of an even money play. So I like Indiana with an adjusted line, move that sucker up to like 7, 8, maybe even 9 because I think they win by double digits. I talked to you earlier about Siakam, how he has been up, down, up, down, up, down. Almost you can it's almost like a stock on the New York Stock Exchange. You can see it happening. His last game on the road was, what did he just had? I think he had 15 points. I think he goes way over his total because he's been averaging like 30 points every other game. So I think you're going to see something well over 25 points. So take Siakam in the over of his total points. And then the last thing is with Halliburton. So you can bet on points, assists, and rebounds combined. Now, normally his number is around 37, but because he had such a poor game, the books brought that number down to something closer to 34, maybe 35. So I would take Halliburton over. It's called PAR, points, assists, and rebounds, because I think he easily goes. Yeah, I think he easily goes over 20 points, maybe 25 points. Easily, I can absolutely see 10 assists, and then all your rebounds are gold, right? So that's just gravy. So you got Indiana to win the game by, I would adjust the line to say 8. Take Siakam over in total points, and then take Halliburton over in points, assists, and rebound. I think the number is going to be somewhere around 34 and a half, maybe even 35. I think he goes over 40 with that number anyway. So whatever you can get in that range is gold.
Definitely.
And that's me saying I love Indiana. I think there's no way they let this thing go because they know if this thing goes back to the Garden, they're in a lot of friggin' trouble. So I think you get a max effort out of Indiana, a max effort out of Halliburton. Those fans are going to be going bananas. I think Indiana plays a really good game here.
Definitely. And shout out to War Stories Radio Live. My guy, you already know, man. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate you tuning on in. He said salute to us, man. But I'm
always appreciate it.
But my thing is, I already said that I thought that the Knicks was gonna win by how they beat the champions and everything like that. But I can't go back on it. I will say
sure you
this:
can.
if Indiana goes out and plays their game that got them here, it's gonna be a blowout.
Right.
It's gonna be a blowout.
And you have no reason to think that they won't. If you even go back to the start of the new year, just to 2025, there's something like 44-18, 44-19 over that stretch. It's either the best or second best record in the entire NBA over that stretch. Right. So, they've been playing good for a while now. They're not just, rolling it out there. So I suspect
they're out here.
I suspect you're gonna get a max effort from them, and there's no reason to believe that you're not gonna get that kind of game out of them, which we expect.
Right. I'm with you 100% on that. And I was going to ask you who you thought was going to win that, but that's clear enough. I understand.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not mad at that at all. I don't
Look,
have
for
a
what
dog in
we
that
do.
fight.
For what we do, I kind of hope the Knicks win because chaos works for us, right? Gives us something
Right.
to talk about.
And we got more time to do it. I'd love for the series to be over so it can be equal as the rest, but I want to watch more games. I mean,
and
when
intense
this is over,
games that matter,
right?
Neck and neck elimination type games. Those are so much fun. So there's a part of me that wants to see the Knicks win this game and me be wrong on, at least the Indiana one. I want to be right on the other ones though.
Right. Yeah, on the betting pool, yeah, definitely. And y'all, if y'all check that out, y'all make sure y'all go ahead and put those bets in. Peace not playing out here, and y'all need to check it out. And like he said, we're not affiliated with any of those, but Underdog, Prize Picks, any of you guys, if y'all watching, y'all need to check out the Pete and Repeat show.
For real.
Put some sponsorships behind it, man.
This is where
man.
you're getting the real information, not on ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS. Give me a break. This is where you're getting the real breakdown.
Not watered down at all, not one bit, man. We'll stand up.
No, we don't know. We don't know anybody, right? We don't know any of the players. We don't have to We don't have to cuddle up to any of these guys and make sure we don't offend anybody. No, we tell it like it is.
That's right. And that's the best part about our show, man.
100%.
That's the best part about our show, man. This was a great thing right here, man. I'll say this. Let's go ahead and do our predictions, and we'll be bold about it because we talked around it and said things. I'm gonna say, like I said, I'm thinking the Knicks will pull this next game out by 2 points, by 2.
Okay.
It'll be a surprise.
I'm going to go Indiana 135, Knicks 112.
Okay.
I think they win pretty handily. I think they win and here's what's going to happen too. I think they're up by close to 20 late in the third. I know the Knicks, this is bad business on my part because you don't bet against the Knicks when they're down 20. In fact, if you want to make a live bet, if the Knicks are down 20, put some money on the Knicks because they're probably going to make a run at that point.
They're going to come back a little bit.
Probably going to make a run. But I think sometimes every team, when the inevitable is happening, it can break your will. So I think Indiana probably runs away with this thing late.
All right, well, Pete, if we got these on the next show that we do and we go over this game, let's put a shot on it, man.
You got it. You got it.
We'll put a shot on that, and that'll be that. Y'all see our predictions? We're split right now, the Pete and repeat. Look at this. We don't always agree on things, but that's how you know we're not just out here going with the flow of it. We're doing what we have in mind.
Absolutely.
We're putting all the facts that we believe is going to go on, and everything outside of that, it's up to y'all. Y'all tune in. Y'all hit that like, hit that subscribe, because we're not going to stop, man. And the football season is on the way.
Oh, it's always football season. Come on.
You better get ready, man. We got so much good things going on, man. Pete, I had a great time with you, man.
Always do. Always do.
You got anything else before we get out of here, Pete?
No, we'll leave it at that. I got a little something the next time we meet, maybe tomorrow, maybe Sunday. We'll see a good little something about Shedeur Sanders, because what I say this all the time on my podcast with Scotty Bracey, Bump and Run. The sports media is not here for you. We are.
Yeah, exactly.
Pete and Repeat are here for you. Bump and Run is here for you. Hater Debate is here for you. ESPN, Fox, they're not there for you. They're there for them. They're there to make money. We're here to inform you. So I got a little something for you the next time we meet about Shedeur Sanders that you're not going to hear from the regular legacy sports media.
That's right. And I think I got something to go with you on that. So I'm looking forward to it. And it won't be Sunday. We can do that tomorrow evening.
Sounds good to me.
I'm going to what is it? Lake Murray Palooza. They got all kinds of boats hooked up and DJs and everything out there.
Like fun. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, it's going to be awesome. It's my first time going. I missed it the last 4 years since they started it, but I'm with the band this time.
I hope you get some good weather with that.
Oh, man. Oh, it's supposed to be 85 out
beautiful,
here.
Beautiful.
Oh, man.
Enjoy.
Awesome, man.
Enjoy.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Got a live stream from that. I want to see that. I want to see some video.
I'm gonna bring some footage and put it up there and everything, so you can check it out and see what is going on, man. Lake Murray is it, man. But heck yeah, man. If you got anything else to say, I have nothing else to say. I had a great show with you, Pete, as usual.
We'll see you again soon.
You already know it, man. I'll talk to you soon, Pete.
Later on.
All right, hold it down, buddy.
Pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's good! Wins